Welcome everyone for the astrology capsule of November 2018. So first, a brief recap of last month of October 2018. There was that opposition between Moon and Uranus were in conjunction in Taurus, and Sun and Venus were in conjunction in Scorpio. So that was a very intense and strong opposition, and I talked about it in a really nice way, saying that it's an opportunity to really deepen Venus and the most beautiful aspects of it. It's also a challenge, of course, and I received some comments on the French channel, the French part of the channel, and it's some kind of comment that really touched me, so I just want to take a few minutes to talk about it. Basically, some were saying, oh, it's a little bit like you're living in... where are you living? You're living in another world where everything is beautiful and everything. Don't you see that in the world there are some challenges and so on and everything, big problems in many countries and so on? And of course, I'm very sensitive to that. Actually, in fact, since I'm very young, it's a topic that is really touching me very deeply. And I've been trying to get involved in so many different ways. And through time, I found out that every very important person that really played a strong role into helping out, into bringing back some order in the world, in some countries and so on, all those great persons, they all cultivated a very rich inner life that is beautiful, that is made of beauty, that is smelling like roses, that is very nice and very beautiful. And that's what I want to keep on doing with the capsule, is that to keep this consciousness that the astrology is just sending us some energies to work with to really enrich our inner life. And it's that part that is the most important. I'm not using astrology to predict what next catastrophe will be happening, what terrible thing will fall on us next month and so on. I'm not looking at that at all with astrology. If that is happening, well, fine. But even if that happens within ourselves, we have to keep cultivating a very rich life. And that's what astrology is all about, actually. It's suggesting us some energies to work with to just enrich our inner life. And this is very important, and I will stick to that for sure, because that's my findings. When I see people that really made a difference, they all have that in common. They were all cultivating something rich inside. And even if the worst thing would happen, of course they're touched by it. Of course they're moved and they might cry and everything, like everybody does. But they will still keep cultivating a rich life. They will find a point of view that will make that positive. They will find a way to look at this that will allow them to create the change. And that's the idea of those astrology capsules. So I just wanted to emphasize a little bit on this. So now that this is clear, and that the famous month of October 2018 brought those strong aspects and beautiful aspects for our inner life. Now that this is clear, let's get going for November. So November is very special because it's the entrance of Jupiter in Sagittarius. So why is that so special? Because Jupiter, about 2 years ago, started to have this square with Pluto, and Uranus also took part of it, starting on January 2017. So that aspect did last for kind of a long time because there was some retrogradation happening. So let's say that it did last kind of 1 year, less in fact, but let's say about that. And right after that, Jupiter just entered the sign of Scorpio. So basically, since 2 years, we were working with Jupiter connected to Pluto, and then Jupiter in Scorpio, which is very similar kind of energy, let's say. Very basically connecting Jupiter with the energy of power, of intensity. And it's difficult for Jupiter to deal with power. So it was kind of a rough time, let's say, for Jupiter. Rough meaning that it was always about looking at our way of managing things, that's Jupiter. How we deal with things, how we can actually canalize, use our personal energies, our personal planets. And when I say personal planets, I also include the luminaries in that. So there's Sun representing the consciousness, Moon representing the subconsciousness, Mars our will, Venus our heart, and Mercury our mind. So all those 5 planets, Jupiter, if you look at the solar system, you have Sun, Mercury, Venus, the Earth, where there's the Moon, so let's say Moon for that one at this point, and then you have Mars, so you have all those 5 personal planets, and next one in line is Jupiter. And Jupiter is the first planet that is big enough that allows us to have a step back and have a general overview of everything, and allow us to choose how we use those energies. Now, of course, he has this manager position, a little bit like could also say like an emperor, like really managing things. But that position of Jupiter should always be a very humble one, and should always be like trying to do the best with what he sees and with the decisions he can take. But yes, he has the role of having an overview on all those personal planets, all those personal energies in our personal life. But also, he has also the role to look at the sun. And that's why usually, and Jupiter is ruling Sagittarius. So when we have Jupiter entering Sagittarius, it's the moment to really look at Sagittarius. And at that symbol of, you know, Sagittarius, it's symbolized by a center with his bow and the arrow. And he's aiming high in the sky. And we usually say that he's aiming for the sun. And that's exactly the idea. Jupiter should always be looking at the sun, and the sun here it's kind of another point of view about the sun. It's not like the personal planets I was mentioning about. It's more like the sun as a symbol of our higher self, of our individuality, of our higher self. So it's really looking at this divine part of ourselves, of this divine part that is always bigger, always brighter, always warmer than us. That's the sun. Always more alive than us here on Earth. It's something so strong, so filled with life. And that's what Jupiter in Sagittarius should be doing. Yes, we're developing this consciousness, this ability to manage, to deal, to choose, to make great decisions. And just like an emperor, like a king, or anybody that is really a president. But we're a generous one. We're trying to do it for the best of all. And where do we take our inspiration? From high above. So we're not always looking at, you know, looking down at others, you know, below us and how we should manage them and so on. No. We're looking up there, upwards, and we receive our inspiration from the sky and from the sun, and then we can take good decisions to deal. Of course, we have to stay connected with, let's say, our people, so our personal planets, our personal energies within ourselves, our heart, our mind, our will. We have to stay connected to those. But in the meantime, we are connected also to the sun, the sky. So that's very important for this vision of Jupiter entering Sagittarius. Why? Because the new moon and the full moon are both totally connected to that. First, the new moon. New moon will be happening at 15 degrees in Scorpio. And one day after that, Jupiter will be entering the sign of Sagittarius. So again, this is very key because Jupiter was in Scorpio for 1 year. And before that, it was that square with Pluto we just talked about. And so it's leaving 2 years of intense work connecting Jupiter and Pluto together, and finally entering the world of Scorpio. So it's not by chance that this new moon is in Scorpio, right in the middle of that sign of Scorpio at 15 degrees. And at that very moment, Jupiter is at 29 degrees and almost entering Sagittarius, so close. So it's really that exam about those 2 years of work where we were connecting our Jupiter, our ability to manage things, to take decisions and so on, connected with power, which is difficult for Jupiter to look at power, because power is more intense than management, because power is so strong. Power, it's a vibration that is very difficult to cope with for Jupiter. That's why he always needs to be looking upwards as well. He needs to stay humble, not thinking that he's the top, you know, like the king, you know, I'm the king and there's nobody higher than me. No, it's totally wrong. There's so much more higher than you. All this invisible world with all those great beings, they're all above you. And that's very important when we are Jupiter and Sagittarius, to keep cultivating that idea. Even if we manage something, even ourselves, right? Because we are the Jupiter of ourselves. We are the king of ourselves. We are the authority choosing what we do in a day. We are this Jupiter ourselves, just for us. And so it's very important that we don't think that this part of us that kind of decides what we're doing in our life, how we deal with our energies, that there's more than that. There's another authority higher up above, and we should look at it. And so this way we look like this and we're humble. We're not just always looking like that. And it's a very different point of view. So that's how Jupiter can actually deal with this vibration of power. And that's what we learned those last 2 years. And there will be some kind of exam on November 7 at this new moon of November 2018. Very, very important exam, because it's the last moment of that period of 2 years where we've been working at connecting Jupiter with the energy of, let's say, power, to make it short. So very important. And right next after it, Jupiter enters in Sagittarius. So the new moon will start having more and more light, growing, let's say, and then till the moment of the full moon. And at the moment of the full moon, guess what? The sun will be in conjunction with Jupiter. The sun will just enter the sign of Sagittarius. It will be at 0 degrees in Sagittarius, just entered it, and Jupiter will still be at 3 degrees in Sagittarius. So they are right in conjunction, and the moon will be at 0 in Gemini. So it's really a celebration of this energy of Jupiter in Sagittarius. The sun is right in conjunction with Jupiter. So it's really about feeling it. And it's very nice to feel that, because Jupiter was kind of under pressure in Scorpio with what we just mentioned. Now it enters the world of Sagittarius, so it's free to really go and master some great big topic, to do studies, to organize studies, to deepen our vision of something really big, something that can englobes so much and have a real strong action at some point wherever we work. So that's a very beautiful moment. The only thing though is there will be a few squares with Mars and Mercury. So Mars will be in square with Sun and Moon, because they are forming in opposition to do the full moon, and Jupiter as well, because it's in conjunction with the Sun. So Mars in Pisces will be forming a square with those. And so Mars and Pisces will be kind of feeling that it's facing something so vast that it's very difficult for Mars to have a clear vision of what he should be doing and how we should be behaving and so on. So for a whale, it will be kind of confusing. The only way to live this really, really well will be to focus on our Jupiter, to focus on the big vision, the big perspective, and to celebrate. It's a little bit like, oh, there's a celebration, let's say Christmas or New Year or Easter or whatever celebration we really like, and instead of going to celebrate and participating into the activities of the celebration, we just go and work, and we do just our regular work, and it's a day like any other day. And you know, there's many people like that. I used to be one at some point. And people that don't really celebrate, and they think, oh no, I have to work, it's more important, and that's what really counts in life, and so on. And you know, while celebrating, it's just losing your time. And so this, if you do that, you might feel something a bit harsh, a bit difficult. You'll feel lost, because Mars in Pisces there, it's too vast. Pisces is too vast for Mars, especially in square with Jupiter, so strong with the Sun in Sagittarius and the Moon in Gemini. Those squares will be difficult. If you do that, if you choose this, I wouldn't recommend, at least for the month of November. And then there's another square. This time it's Mercury, which has its square with Neptune. So again, Neptune. So Neptune is very vast again, especially for Mercury, which represents our mind. Neptune is just so, I don't know, universal, so big. Again, Mercury also. So our mind also, if we try to keep it small, very difficult. There's a square there, there's tension. So really we should focus on this Jupiterian energy for this full moon. And we have to visualize that from that exam that we have at the new moon, then after this moment, we're already preparing this celebration of the full moon of November. So that's very, very powerful. Very beautiful moment, really. So November should be a very beautiful month. If we kind of fail that exam of the new moon, well, you know, we'll be forgiven. But we should be careful for that exam. Of course, it's not a big deal. I mean, we'll be forgiven. There will be other opportunities to recycle the energies that are around. But really, we should be looking at this new moon as some kind of exam regarding our connection with Jupiter and power, which is very important, because if we do have a success at this moment, then the celebration will make so much sense. It will be so strong. There's a momentum that is building going to that full moon of November 2018. So I really wish you the best for this work, and it should be very, very comfortable, a very good moment. So thank you so much, everyone, and see you next month for the next astrology capsule. Thank you.